This video will show you how to replace the starter on a Ford F-150 with a 5.4 liter engine. This will be mounted under the passenger side of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Now the first thing we have to do is disconnect our negative battery terminal from along the top of the battery. We're using an 8mm to loosen the mounting hardware just enough that we can remove the terminal end from the battery. Obviously, if you see corrosion like that, you're going to want to take care of it. For now, we'll set that aside. Now that we've disconnected that, let's make our way safely under the front of the vehicle. After we make our way under the front of the vehicle, we're making our way along the passenger side of the engine, and this is where we can see our vehicle's starter. Now we do have several electrical connectors to be removed. We're going to start with our two power wires here. One quick note about these is you do not want to touch these until you have disconnected that negative battery terminal. We're going to start with our small signal wire first. I'm using a 10mm for my mounting nut. Once we have it off of there, just a quick inspection of the wiring. We'll replace anything as necessary. Now, as you can see, our starter was in very poor condition. It ended up breaking, but typically you would just remove the mounting nut and slide the wiring off of there. I'm going to continue on the removal process of this wire and we'll give it a thorough inspection. Now, I've removed the broken stud from my wiring harness. Of course, I am going to clean this, but first, let's continue on to the rest of our wiring. We have our large power wire leading up to the starter solenoid. We'll remove that next using a 13mm. And slide that off of there. Typically you will find that you have a locking washer. Of course, we're going to inspect things here. As far as the hardware, you can dispose of that properly. We're going to continue on with our ground wires next. Now, as far as those ground wires, you can see that they lead all the way over towards the base of the starter, where the starter connects to our transmission. We're using a 13mm for this piece of hardware as well. Now, we're removing a mounting nut from the stud. Once we have the wiring off of there, we're going to start continuing on with our hardware that holds the starter in place. Just like the other wires, we will be cleaning those, but for now, let's continue on with the hardware holding the starter in place. Now, right where we had removed our ground wires from would be one piece of hardware. You're going to find that you also have two more mounting bolts. There's one as you head up along the side of the starter, and then there's also one more that's a little harder to get to up along the top area of the starter. Now, if you need placement for these, you can look at your brand new starter to find exactly where each piece of hardware will be located. Okay, so I've got this on the upper bolt. There's minimal room to be able to get in here, so I'm using a small ratchet. There's that one, on to the next. And let's move along to our next bolt along the passenger side of the starter here. 13mm. There's our next mounting bolt. All the way down at the bottom for this piece of hardware, you're going to find that it's a 13mm headed mounting stud. It's going to look significantly different than the other two mounting bolts that we've already removed. Now keep in mind, as you remove this, this is the last thing holding the starter in place to the engine. Be aware so it does not fall down and potentially hurt you. Yep, the starter moves around as we need it to. We'll hold on to that. Carefully remove the starter from the area. There it is, friend. Prior to installation of any brand new part, of course, we want to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting areas. Let's start with our wiring connectors. For these, I'm going to use a piece of fine sandpaper and I'm going to give each of them a light scuffing. We want to confirm that we have a good mating surface. While we're doing this, just double check to make sure nothing feels like it's weak in any way. If any of the terminal ends need to be replaced, now's the time to do so. Okay, that ground wire looks good. Let's move along to our smaller signal wire. We're using the same sandpaper here. No corrosion, no erased areas, and it's not weak. Last wire, this is the large power wire. That feels good as well. All right, let's make our way up to the transmission bell housing next. Transmission bell housing, we're going to make our way all the way around this. Make sure nothing fell inside this area. This looks good. Now let's prepare our brand new starter for installation. Let's have a quick look at where our wiring harnesses go first. Now looking at our starter, we're looking where our small remote wire would lead to. Typically, you're going to have a circular adapter. If you had a female type of adapter, you'd want to use this tab here. Now, since ours does have the circular adapter on the vehicle itself, we're going to remove our small adapter. You may have to use a 10mm to loosen the mounting nut. Typically, it should be loose enough that you can remove the mounting nut and the corresponding locking washer. So there's our small adapter. I'm just going to set this aside for recycling. You can also keep this for future use if necessary. Now I'm just going to set that aside and we'll have a look at the larger stud here. This is where our large power wire will sit. Remove that mounting hardware as well. Now we can install this in the vehicle. As we start bringing the starter into place, we want to make sure we have it in the proper orientation. All three of our mounting points need to be aligned. While you're bringing this up, we can start in all three pieces of hardware. The lower hardware is the one mounting stud. The other two are only mounting bolts. You can start anywhere you like. Make sure you start them all in before tightening any of them. Top bolt, this one's going to be the hardest to gain access to. I got that started in. They're all started in. Let's bottom them out. After that, torque them to 19 foot-pounds. Top one's the hardest to gain access to. That's where we'll start. Okay, that one's snug. All right, there's that one as well. When we go to torque these, you may find that you have difficulty getting your torque wrench into the proper area to torque all pieces of hardware. If that's the case, you definitely at least want to make sure that each one of them is fully tightened and secured in place. Let's get this up here. Now that we have the starter secured in place, let's continue on with our electrical wiring harnesses. We're starting with our ground wires first. The ground wire connector will slide onto the lower stud. Now once you have that in place, you're continuing on with your mounting nut. Of course, we have cleaned all of our hardware here. We're going to bottom this out and I'm going to torque this mounting nut to 16 foot-pounds. Take hold of that ground wire, attempt to move it, you should find that it does not move around. If it does move, it's not properly secured and you're going to have a starting issue. Let's continue on with our large power wire next. As we bring our large power wire in place, we'll continue on with our brand new 13mm headed mounting nut and our locking washer. That washer on there, mounting nut. An important note about installing our wiring harnesses, you want to make sure that none of our contact points are touching during the installation process. If I have this turned like this, the starter is going to continually run. We do not want that. Now we can torque this to 133 inch-pounds. Now on to our signal wire. Now, just as I mentioned before, we need to make sure that none of the contact points are hitting. So when I go to install this, we'll make sure that it's facing straight down and it's not anywhere close to touching up against that other wire. Just as before, we have our locking washer and our brand new mounting nut. Start them on, snug them up. Double check, make sure that's secured as well. Now, one last quick inspection while we're in this area. We know for sure that we've torqued the starter in place and we've secured each one of our wiring harnesses as they need to be. Nothing's touching in any area that it should not. At this point, let's make our way out from under the vehicle back into the engine compartment. Under the hood, we're going to resecure our negative battery terminal. We'll take this, press it onto the battery as far as possible, and we'll be using our 8mm to tighten the mounting nut. Okay, right there's bottomed out. Just take it a tiny bit further, and of course double check to make sure there's no movement. Okay friend, we finished the installation of our vehicle's starter. Now the next thing we want to do is hop in the passenger compartment and test the starter functionality. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.